yourselves in the chat and let us know your location and one word about how you are feeling. I can start. I am feeling excited for this conversation, but my daughter is upstairs. She's 20 months old, so I'm hoping that she stays quiet for the whole thing. So we'll see how that goes. We're just going to give folks until 4:33 around there before we get started. And we are also live on Facebook. Oh, we see the representative has a guest as well. Hi. All right, we are going to get started. Hi, everybody. Yes, as you come in, just go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat with your name, your pronoun, your location, and one word that describes how you are feeling on this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us. This is a webinar where we're going to be talking about a Marshall Plan for Moms. And we're going to be talking about what moms really want from people for this Mother's Day. So we welcome everybody to use the chat, but we're not going to be able to track questions in the chat. So if you have questions for us, you'll see there's a little Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to drop any questions you have in there. We may not be able to get through all of the individual questions, but we'll look for common themes and see if we can answer questions as things go along. And we do have a portion at the end of the webinar where we're going to be opening it up for Q&A. So again, if you put your questions in the chat, we're probably not going to see it. So please use the Q&A button. And for those on the phone, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us today, and we hope that you can stay for the whole thing. In order for us to keep focused on the discussion while the panel discussion is going on, we're actually going to be turning off the chat feature. So just a reminder as well, I think I've said it like three times, use the Q&A button if you have questions. This conversation is being recorded and live streamed on Women's March's Facebook, and I think also Moms Rising, right, Kristin? Amazing, yes. So it's being live streamed on Facebook, so feel free to invite more people to join us. We are providing closed captioning for this webinar tonight. So if you would like to access this feature, there's a button at the bottom of your screen. It says closed caption. You can just click it and you should be good to go. Tonight, I'll be asking a few questions of our panelists, and hopefully we'll have time to take a couple questions from you all afterwards. But feel free to add anything in the Q&A chat. We're excited to see folks are still coming in. As we mentioned before, as you come in, feel free to introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, where you're joining us from, and one word about how you're feeling today. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panelists. First, we have Kristin Rowe-Finkbeiner, who is the Executive Director of Moms Rising and just an all-around amazing person. And we also have the amazing Representative Grace Meng of New York and the sponsor of the Marshall Plan for Moms resolution. And she's also going to be talking a little bit. If y'all have questions about like what's a resolution, we're going to be touching on that today. So let's jump right in. Before we get started, I want to do a quick check-in. For those of y'all who joined us early, you may have caught us talking a little bit about what's happening with like working from home and being a mom and kids all around. This pandemic has taken such a toll on so many of us, and it's important for us to just realize that we're showing up in this space as professionals, but also as human beings and as moms. So I can start. I am doing good. I'm excited for this conversation. I am hoping my kids stay quiet the whole time through, but I'm excited to dig in and to hear from our panelists and for us to share information with you all about actionable ways that we can support moms for this Mother's Day and beyond. And I will pass it to Representative Meng.
Thank you so much, Tabitha, and the entire Women's March family for this wonderful invitation. And I'm also so glad to be able to sit down with Kristin. I'm such a long-time fan of Moms Rising. How am I feeling? How am I doing? You know, I think you captured my feeling 24/7. It's that anticipation. If my kids will run in the room and start screaming while I'm in the middle of a work Zoom, which in the beginning personally was really nerve-wracking for me because I would just be praying that they wouldn't come in. But I think part of what is positive about this, year's pandemic is that we are normalizing children and being a mom and being a working parent. And to think about how far we've come, even on that note, throughout the last year, I can't imagine a better way to celebrate Mom's Day than to share this time with all of you, with all the other moms who have been the ultimate sheroes during this pandemic. And moms are sheroes any day of the year, even before the quarantine started. And I know it's been so hard. I have two boys in middle school, sixth grade and eighth grade. And so, just like millions of moms who are thrust into this world of working from home, virtual learning, taking care of various people in our families, it's been a real struggle. I mean, it's an endless cycle. My dinner materials are right there. As soon as I finish, I'm going to go finish preparing dinner. But it's an endless cycle: cooking, cleaning, teaching, feeding, feeding more than the 3 meals a day, and trying to work and Zoom at the same time. And at the same time, I know that I'm one of the lucky ones because I have been able to work from home. And because during last year, over 1 million moms left the workforce entirely because of this pandemic. And moms, especially those with young kids, were leaving the workforce in droves. I think 80% of moms with kids who were under 12 said that they were the lead parent for their kids' remote learning. So, my district in Queens, New York was really one of the first epicenters of the epicenter. And it was, really hard to see what so many parents and so many moms were going through, moms struggling to do work from their homes, trying to find a quiet space. And I'm glad we're doing this because moms really need relief. They need a reset. And that's why I introduced the Marshall Plan for Moms, a resolution which is really a blueprint, a framework to revitalize moms in our workforce. We can't just go back to where we were the day before the pandemic. We have a chance to truly build back better. We need transformational and real structural change. Moms deserve more of a fighting chance than we've ever been given in the history of this country. So this legislation that I propose, it's a framework, it's a resolution, it's symbolic. It expresses the sentiment of Congress, which is that we need to pass better laws to help working moms across this country.
Thank you so much, Representative Meng. And it does seem like our kids are snacking all day during the pandemic. Kristin, how are you doing?
Doing good because I'm here with all of you and really inspired by your words, Representative, and yours, Tabitha, and by the people in the Women's March community and family who are joining us in Rising Up. I'm always concerned in the back of my mind these days about the chaos behind me that could occur in Zoom. So I join you all in that, and also in the celebration of the increased understanding that life happens. And that's important, just really understanding that life happens. The United States of America is one of the only industrialized nations in the world that has failed to, as yet, build a care infrastructure that recognizes that life happens. And because of that, we were hanging by a thread when the pandemic began in terms of our family economic security and our care infrastructure. And for many, that thread unraveled altogether. We just saw 32% of all women between the ages of 24 and 44 be pushed out of the labor force entirely during the pandemic due to our lack of a care infrastructure. And today we are sadly marking a very important day, which is Moms Equal Pay Day. That's the day on average into 2021 that moms of all races and ethnicities have to work in order to earn what dads earned in 2020. So yes, we are catching up in our pay, but we are working so many extra months. And I want to give you the breakdown of what's happening with the mom wage gap, because I think it's really important in centering our conversation today about how we don't have any gender justice without racial justice and without economic justice. And this data really shows what's going on. And for every dollar paid to white non-Hispanic dads in the United States today, Latina moms are earning just 46 cents to a dad's dollar. Black moms just 52 cents to a dad's dollar. White moms just 71 cents to a dad's dollar. Native American moms just 50 cents to a dad's dollar. And Asian American and Pacific Islander moms are paid just 90 cents to a dad's dollar on average, but with some groups of AAPI moms earning as little as 52 cents to a dad's dollar. That grouping is very large. We need disaggregated data right there. And so this unconscionable gap is doubling down on the harms that women and moms are experiencing. And there are solutions, like the solutions laid out in Representative Meng's resolution. We know in countries with family economic security policies in place that those wage gaps are narrowed, and that when women win, when moms win, our whole country wins. So I'm excited to be talking about this moment where more people are waking up to the fact that life happens, that women are important, that our contributions and needs fuel our economy and lift our families. And now we have an aperture of change, a window of change has opened, and it's on us to help walk through. And that's what we're talking about today. So that part I'm excited about on this roller coaster of change. So thank you.
That is very exciting. So my first question is to you, Representative Meng. You talked a little bit about how your experience during the pandemic has really influenced the work that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit more about how it specifically inspired you to propose this resolution?
So I think we can all relate to the experience of what we went through as moms, as parents, especially in the early days when people weren't necessarily used to seeing kids fly across or scream across while we were Zooming. People were still in the midst of trying to balance, work life and personal life. People were trying to figure out their daycare or babysitting situation, and that all got upended. So we all had to be really creative trying to balance the family situation. And there are many people who are taking care of like the elderly or other relatives and family on top of their own children. So really just trying to figure it out. And then for the bulk of, after we sort of figured it out in the whole middle, part of the timeline where we kind of figured it out, but it was still super hard. It was really stressful. And every day you just felt like you weren't doing a good enough job. And so that stress, after over a year, after many moms have now gotten together virtually across the country, and I will tell you what made me feel so much better as a mom wasn't necessarily a change in circumstances. It was getting to know what other moms were going through, sharing our stories, and sharing best practices and ways for us to normalize our situation according to what we think are conventional standards in this country. And then, even basic things like I don't have to do everything perfectly. And then me telling my husband at some point when he was working at home, maybe you can work in the common space like I do every single day. And something simple like that really changed my perspective and made me feel like I was more supported. But words and comfort are not enough. We in this country have gone through so much, and we have literally been shocked into seeing the need to revitalize our infrastructure. Infrastructure is not just rebuilding our roads and bridges and highways. If we don't help our moms, there will not be enough people to get on those roads and highways and bridges. So we need to make sure that we are taking care of the millions of women, over 1 million who are moms, to make sure that we're helping them get back into the workforce if they want to, and that we're providing real support for caregivers, whether you're taking care of your kid or your parents. It's important that they're getting the support and the respect that they need. And that's why we need to take a look at legislation and how we can improve our laws to help more people.
That's an important note, is that as we head into Mother's Day, lots of people are thinking about mothers, and they're like, what can I get the mothers in my life? Flowers, chocolates. But what moms need more than anything else is that support, that long-term sustainable support from the government to be able to show up and to be able to succeed in work and in our personal lives. And we need people to use their voices, use whatever power they have to really advocate for things like the Marshall Plan for Moms. So Kristin, same question for you. What has been your experience during the past year, and how has it really shaped your work? I know you've been working for so long around things like paid family leave and things like that. Can you talk about how your experience has really shaped your current work?
I've been incredibly humbled and inspired by the power and the persistence of the voices of moms who are rising to reach out to members of Congress, to reach out to state legislators, even when people are doing 800 jobs at the same time, in the same location, literally at the exact same time, really making time to raise our voices. Because we've seen tremendous change. We've seen representatives like Representative Meng step forward with really powerful resolutions like the Marshall Plan for Moms resolution. We've seen Congress move spectacular change. Moms Rising members made over 234,000 constituent contacts just relating to the American Rescue Plan and shared more than 11,000 stories. And I know Women's March members also spoke up, stood up, and really raised their voices together with multiple organizations, working together in coordinated ways, unlike in history, to say we need change. When this many people are experiencing the same types of crisis at the same time, we need structural change. And we're starting to see that happen. We saw in the American Rescue Plan, we saw paid family leave in there. Not enough. We still need to keep pushing for more. People, it's a start. The window is opened. We haven't walked through the window yet. So we need everybody's voice to keep being raised. We saw something really important happen also with childcare. We saw investments in the Childcare Stabilization Fund that were $50 billion, which are needed because guess what? Having women and moms pushed out of much needed jobs because of a lack of a care infrastructure, including a lack of childcare, costs our country $64 billion a year at least. So we are looking at making investments that save us money and help people thrive in the long run. We saw, importantly, something really spectacular that I'm hoping that everybody can commit to spreading the word on right now happen in the American Rescue Plan. And that's the child tax credit was increased and it was expanded. What is the child tax credit? It's basically direct cash for people who have kids. So it's $3,600 per young child age 0 to 5 per year, and it's $3,000 per older child age 6 to 17 per year, and people who are earning zero income and very low income for the first time ever actually qualify for this. I'm raising this right now because we have an emergency for everybody on this Zoom, and that's to tell your friends about this, because people who earn zero or low income previously did not have to file their taxes, but to get these checks the fastest, wait for it, you have to file your taxes by May 17th of this year, as in like a week from now, or request an extension. Now, if you don't do it by then, the IRS is going to open up a portal later, but then it'll mean that you take extra time to get your check. But the fact that we just did this together, by we, I mean the Women's March, I mean Moms Rising, I mean so many organizations, I mean Congress. Thank you to our champions in Congress like Representative Meng. The fact that we all rose together and started making these changes happen that are now proposed to be permanent with universal child care, where nobody pays more than 7% of their income on childcare per year. Yes, please. Right now, childcare costs more than college in most states, where we have paid leave for all, where we have actual child tax credit increased in that way permanently, where we have the minimum wage finally raised to at least $15 an hour, and we get rid of the unfair tipped minimum wage, which is much lower. And we have one fair wage for everyone at $15 an hour, where we move forward fair treatment of all immigrant families and a path to citizenship, where we move those policies forward together in the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan. We have a huge opportunity to shape a future that isn't just better for moms now and dads now and caregivers now and our economy now. It's also good for future generations. And I did mention the economy. I was really excited to read in the New York Times the other day that our Federal Reserve chairperson, Jerome Powell, said, hello, we need a care infrastructure just like every other industrialized nation in order to have world competitiveness and to boost our economy. So we see, you asked about what's happened in this past year. You know, what's happened in this past year is a reckoning on a number of levels. Oops, sorry, there's some chaos starting. And we are moving forward, hopefully transforming through that into a better country that more people can thrive. Hopefully everyone can thrive. And it is the voices of moms that and women and people across the country who are caregivers who are making that happen. And just before I move on, I want to just make sure that we really sit with the fact that in this process, in this transformation, we have to hold on to that there is no gender justice without racial justice, without economic justice, because the data is in, and the pandemic has had an absolutely outsized impact on women of moms of color, with women and moms of color experiencing compounded health and economic harms. So as we move these policies forward, the American Jobs Plan, the American Rescue Plan, we are also keeping an eye on making sure there is equity and justice in every policy that passes. And that's why your voices, everybody who's here, is so important, why your stories are so important, and why persistence is absolutely critical. So thank you for asking the question. I didn't realize I had so much to say and answer, but I'm really excited about the opportunities for change and inspired and humbled by how much people have been doing to make change happen, including everybody on this Zoom. So thank you.
Definitely. It really takes all of us. Maybe we can take a step back for folks who we sort of jumped right into talking about the resolution. Just curious about if we can explain to folks what is a resolution. I know we talked about it being important but also symbolic. So what is a resolution?
So I can try to answer that. You know, resolution is largely symbolic. It doesn't necessarily have teeth. It doesn't necessarily require a spending of government funds. A resolution is, for example, the Green New Deal to issues on climate change. It is a framework. It expresses the sentiment and the feeling of Congress on whatever the issue is. And it's something that can include multiple pieces of legislation and bills. We want to initiate and expand where these conversations are happening with this resolution. We saw when Reshma Saujani first came up with this idea of a Marshall Plan for moms, many celebrities got on board, people much more famous than a lot of us on this call. People started talking about it. And that's really what we want to create. People at all levels, all walks of life, to be talking about how much help moms need. And to what Kristin was saying, make no mistake that Congress is focused on this, and Congress understands that something has to be done. Because of all of you. It's because of all of you for the past few years, and especially during this year, where we, in the midst of a pandemic, realizing that government did not have all the answers and solutions. And this, you know, applies to many fields, from our healthcare workers to our small businesses. We had to listen to everyday people in our communities, and many of them were moms and parents people who told us day to day what their struggles were and that Congress needed to do something and to do better. And so I, really want to thank the people of this country, the everyday people who helped put forth issues like these and resolutions, which are really an ideal of where our country should be headed. And hopefully Congress can pass some of these bills that are contained within this resolution.
Yeah, I mean, Reshma she started what became a groundswell of women and also allies, because there was also a full page ad in the New York Times of dads that are in support of a Marshall Plan for moms. And that's what's so needed, is for everybody to use whatever voice, whatever influence you have to speak up and to push for change for moms so that we can get the support that we need. So this question is for you, Representative Meng. We were super excited to see the Biden administration announce the American Families Plan last week. What are the shared policies in the Marshall Plan for Moms and the just released American Families Plan that was introduced by the Biden administration that everybody should know about to help pass it?
Sure. Well, once again, I want to thank all of you out there because of your advocacy, because of all of you telling the very real and personal stories of what everyday folks are going through, especially our moms and caregivers in this country. The Biden administration and Congress knew that we needed to do more to help our care economy. So the American Families Plan, coupled with the American Jobs Plan, are really critical to helping families across the country come back from the pandemic. And not just to build back, right? As they say, build back better. So these plans together envision a seismic shift in the value that we place on everyday families and caregivers, because that's not always been demonstrated in our past budgets and in our past policies. Our Marshall Plan for Moms calls for this type of structural, seismic change and how we are valuing this type of care. And for decades, our country has really just barely scraped by with policies, or the lack thereof, before the pandemic, and especially as you compare our policies with other countries. So our plan, for example, calls for national paid leave plan, a stabilized childcare industry, with an eye toward, I feel like I'm repeating Kristin's wish list, with an eye toward universal childcare and early learning, huge investments in our education system, child poverty reduction tools, $15 minimum wage, and mental health support for moms. And you probably know that the legislation that was passed recently, the American Rescue Plan, like Kristin mentioned, cut poverty rates for our families by half. And yes, this is something we should have done a long time ago, but the COVID pandemic really gave us the excuse to do it, and to do it now. One of my priorities, for example, has been affordable broadband and internet access. This is not a new issue. It's not a new problem. 12 million students across the country did not have affordable access to the internet before COVID ever hit us. And so we were excited in the rescue plan to secure $7 billion to help our kids in all parts of the country, from urban to rural to tribal areas, be able to have affordable access to the internet. So that's just one example of how we in this job and the Families Plan need to make these once in a generation investments. There's no more cost-effective time. There's no cheaper time than now to make the investments. So these plans that the Biden administration is putting together would invest in our caregiving economy. The Families Plan invests in our education from pre-K, you've heard about community college, minority serving institutions, and the paid family and medical leave, and also to extend the child tax credit. And so we need to make sure that we are also, personal plug, I just know so many moms who are also caring for their own parents, And that's especially true in many communities of color and people in different geographical parts of our country as well. So we want to make sure that we are including as many people as possible.
That's true. I think when we talk about mothering and moms, I think we also talk about the caregivers, the grandparents and the uncles and the aunts and the guardians who step up and parent every day and who need this relief as well. Kristin, my next question is to you. Can you talk a little bit about the work that women, moms, and caregivers have done across the nation, including at Moms Rising, that's led us to this moment, and how you feel about where we are now and where we're headed?
Thank you. That's a great question. I just want to reflect also on what Representative Meng just said about the power of stories. So what we've seen, women, moms, girls, caregivers, and people with a belly button, we like to say anyone with a belly button can be involved with Moms Rising. Anybody who's ever had a mom doing is really sitting down and taking the time to share their stories with their elected leaders. And you just heard directly from the source of an actual member of Congress that makes a difference. One of the biggest questions we get was, does it make a difference? It does. Sharing your story makes a difference. Making that phone call and getting counted as, yes, I am for this, to your member of Congress makes an impact. Signing a petition that's actually delivered along with data has lasting change capabilities. Having an event on the ground, writing a letter to the editor or an op-ed, all of these things are what's adding up to make a difference. And one of the things that's important is we don't need everybody to do everything. We have right now, as we've been talking about, a wide group of organizations, of movements, of leaders that are charging forward. So if one person only has time to post something really quickly on social media about something, then maybe that same week their friend down the street has time to call their member of Congress, and another friend in another neighborhood has time to share their story. And so I do want to just focus on stories for a second, because stories do three really important things, and everybody has a story. We just heard, for example, about how the United States of America was behind the rest of the world when it comes to family economic security policies. Sometimes people are like, how far behind? Really far behind. 177 countries have some form of paid family medical leave. The United States of America is not one of them. So we are very far behind. But everybody has a story about paid leave. You either have a story of you were able to take paid leave because you won the boss or the job lottery. By the way, you shouldn't have to win a boss or a job lottery in order to get paid leave. Or you have a story of not having paid leave, which is actually more common because very few people have access to paid leave. And importantly, very few lower wage jobs or minimum wage jobs have access to paid leave. So sharing your story either way makes a difference. Like, this policy, I got it, it helped, or this policy, I didn't have it, and now this is the impact. And the three ways that it helps is, one, it shows elected leaders what's really happening with their constituents beyond numbers on papers. I like to think of us as the giant wake-up call because many members of Congress, the large majority of members of Congress right now, are still not women and moms. We don't have parity yet in Congress. We're working on that. Thank you for everyone who's also working on that. But representation matters. Thank you, Representative Meng. Two, it shows the media what's really going on. Oftentimes when we've talked about the policy impact on women and moms, on caregivers, it's been framed in a way that's siloed as not important or is not key to our economy, which couldn't be further from the truth. And sharing your story shows the importance to the media on how we can frame it. So we get cultural change. So we get legislative change by sharing our stories with elected leaders. We get cultural change by sharing our stories with the media. And importantly, sharing our stories shows each other that we're not alone. Too often and for too long, these policy areas have been put upon the individual caregiver as it is your fault that you can't fit everything into your life. Well, it's impossible to fit everything into your life all at the same time, all in the same minute, all in the same place. And so showing that you're not alone, that we need structural change, we need national structural change that we can make together. Because guess what? It's not rocket science. Other countries have done it. We can do it too. It's so important. And so we like to say, just like people need bridges and roads and electric lines to work, we need a care infrastructure so that parents can go to work and caregivers, so that children can thrive with quality early education, and importantly, so that care workers can receive living wages. And I want to sit with that for a moment, because creating a care infrastructure is both job enabling caregivers of people who are younger and older in your life and in your family to go to work, as well as creating good care jobs. And there's a lot of data on the amount of return on investment for creating good care jobs that we would get. One aspect of the care economy and of the Biden-Harris administration's American Jobs and Families Plan that we didn't talk about yet is there's $400 billion of much needed funds in there for home and community-based care and services for people who have disabilities or who are aging. That's super important too. And this is important altogether with our economy, because the third and fourth fastest growing job sectors are in home care workers. And so we absolutely need to make sure that the jobs in the care economy are well-paid jobs, because our consumer spending as women, our consumer spending as moms, actually, we make 80% of consumer decisions in an economy in which 72% of our GDP is based on consumer spending. So if we don't have pay parity, if we don't have good jobs with good pay, then our whole economy suffers, not just our families. So that's what I see in answer to your question, moving due to moms making phone calls, moms sharing a story, somebody with a belly button clicking on a petition, all of us together rising in that tsunami of change. We're seeing policies come forward, and we're seeing change happening, but we're not done yet. You know, we're on the field, people, but we have not gotten through the goal line yet. So it's time to double down. Thank you for the question.
Yes, we have so much more work to do. Kristin, you touched on this earlier, but I wanted to know if you can talk a little bit about this some more, about how there are clear inequities in the care industry, and can you touch on would these policies actually address them? I think you're on mute, Kristin.
Sorry about that. Yes, I was on mute. Yes, I mean, as I said earlier, the data is in, and the pandemic has had an absolutely outsized negative impact on women and moms of color, with compounded health and economic harms. And what does that look like? Like, what kind of numbers are we looking like? I love numbers. I'm totally a little bit strange that way, but I'm going to share some numbers, because the numbers are really, really, really important. So over the course of the first 10 months alone of the pandemic, women, and particularly women of color, lost more jobs than men by far, more than 1 million more jobs than men. So it's not just that people lost jobs. Women, and women of color in particular, disproportionately lost jobs. We're seeing people pushed out of the labor force, and the trends are showing that. I'm looking up the data as I'm talking, but when you look at the actual data, you could look at like 1 month in particular was very, very, very striking and showing what we're seeing in the labor force losses, and that is December. It was a stark illustration of the trends. Black, Hispanic, and Asian women accounted for every single job loss on the whole that month, and 154,000 Black women were pushed out of the labor force in December alone. So what this means in terms of public policies is this means that we have to keep a close look on equity. We have to keep our eye on pay parity. We need to make sure that every policy that we work on unites gender justice with racial justice, with economic justice. They are intertwined. One can never happen without the other. And so that means when we're looking at building a care infrastructure, that means that we're also never forgetting that we absolutely need to increase the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, to at least $15 an hour, because that really helps with that pay parity. That means that we have to invest in programs that build good jobs, not just for people who are wearing hard hats and pouring concrete, but also for people who are lifting families and building community and educating children and being there for one another. That means that we also need to make sure that we don't have our policies come out in inequitable ways. So for example, right now we were talking about winning the job lottery right now I sort of touched on this with paid family medical leave. People have to right now win the job lottery or the state lottery. Some states have passed paid family medical leave due to the voices of women and moms and caregivers and people with a belly button. Hello, thank you. But we want the policies to actually be implemented and to be written equitably so that we don't say, for example, okay, only people earning a certain amount and up would qualify for this job. Or, we want universal policies. So anything short of that, and as we move forward, is not okay. Because we have a history in the United States of America of structural racism and non-universal implementation of policies. So now is our moment to keep our eye on the prize of change and to really advocate for universal implementation, pay parity, and never, never, never letting go of the focus on racial justice, gender justice, and economic justice have to happen together. And you can look at any policy with that framework and just make sure that we are not reinventing structural racism as we move forward family economic security policies and build a care infrastructure, which we absolutely must do.
It's so critically important. So my next question is to Representative Meng. The pandemic has not only impacted women in an economic way, it's also taken a toll on our mental health. So many people are struggling right now with being pulled in tons of different directions and having less time to make sure that we as moms are okay. I read that a Marshall Plan for Moms, which you put forward, will provide support in this area. Can you tell us a little bit more about the support that you're sort of envisioning for moms in terms of mental health?
Sure. Well, I don't have to tell all of you that for over a year, moms have literally been screaming out for help within their own networks and to the mainstream community, and now to government, and telling them that government needs to do better. And I just wanted to piggyback again off of what Kristin was saying, and I don't mean to be repetitive, but I say this because it's important, of how important representation is in terms of all of you telling your stories. We need to hear stories. We need to hear stories from diverse communities. Every one of your stories makes a difference, make an impact. And when we're having meetings on Capitol Hill, in the halls of government at all different levels, on the city, state, federal level, we are bringing your stories to our leadership. And when you provide us with the stories, the evidence, we can make a better case as to why moms need help and why the care economy needs to be part of this new families and jobs plans. And so again, I want to say thank you. I know that so many of you feel underappreciated and not noticed enough, but your stories are really making a difference. And for those of you who have gotten involved, making sure that more moms and more women are elected, that makes a difference too, because now as we're in rooms with the Biden administration, within our leadership, talking about piecing together the jobs plan and the families plan, you have members of Congress who are saying, we're not leaving the women out, we're not leaving the moms behind. And I bet you decades ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. And it's because we're doing a better job of listening to these moms who've been screaming out for help. Moms, especially moms of color, have been pushed to the brink of economic, social, emotional collapse due to this pandemic. They've shouldered the burdens of childcare, remote learning, remote work, all of this in social isolation. And I do want to note, we cannot think about this past year without thinking of issues of racial and social justice, from Black Lives Matter, what a Black mom thinks about every single day, worrying about her children, what Asian American parents and moms have to think about not letting their parents go out to buy groceries or their kids to go out to the playground to play. This also takes on an emotional burden for so many people. And sometimes these moms don't even have time to take care of themselves because they are worried about the mental health of their kids and the mental health of their own parents, the elderly and their families. And then we have new first-time moms maybe who've had babies during this pandemic. They've had to go to doctor's appointments alone. some have lost their partners due to COVID, and they don't necessarily have the support of a partner. So from pregnancy through postpartum, they've really been isolated from contact and community in so many situations. And so I really want to make sure that we are focusing on mental health. And again, this is not a new issue, right? But there is no time better than now to make sure that we are including the piece and the investment of mental health. There are too many people in this country, even in a diverse city like New York, when someone needs mental health support, there literally is nowhere to go. And that's especially true if you don't speak English, if English is not your first language. And the resources from immigrant communities, minority communities, to our children in our schools, to the issue of mental health as first responders versus always calling 911 or the police. This is a whole nother, we could dedicate another entire town hall to the issue of mental health. But we need to do a lot better because people are really screaming out for help.
And I think so often society tells moms that we have to be perfect, that we have to show up in these sort of idealized ways, and that when we don't do that, we're criticized for it in really detrimental ways. So I really appreciate it that you included that part about mental health, because I think so often moms, that's often the first thing that goes. We take care of everybody around us and we don't take care of ourselves. So the final question is to you, Representative Meng. You mentioned it's important for us to tell our stories. Is there anything else we can do to move these key policies forward? Would it be helpful for folks on this webinar to make calls to senators and so forth, asking them to support a Marshall Plan for Moms? What would be helpful to you in terms of pushing this forward?
Definitely. And I know it sounds cliche, but the time is more important than ever because Congress is literally putting together these pieces of legislation now. Congress is literally talking to the Biden administration, talking to the various committee chairpersons, talking to advocates. And so now is the time for us, all of you. This is easy, right? You can do it on the website, through an email, through Twitter, whatever you're most comfortable with. And snail mail is the slowest, though, I will say. But, just to make sure, tell them you support the Marshall Plan for Moms. Tell them you want to make sure women and moms are included in the jobs plan, in the families plan, right? Don't assume that they know it and they'll do it, because the more they hear from all of you, the more strength they will carry into the rooms where these decisions are being made and where the bills are literally being written and put together. We want them to think 24/7 about the moms and the families that will be affected. And don't just, you don't even have to just reserve it for the federal government. You can ask for these same policies and same types of improvements at the city level. Ask them what they're planning to do to support moms. Ask them what they're planning to do to invest more money in mental health programs. The city level, the state level, there's always room for improvement.
That is an amazing note to end on, some really simple, actionable ways for folks to get involved. We have about 10 more minutes, so I'm going to open it up to Q&A. We have 2 questions right now. What are the plans to push this message on social media? For folks who don't know, this webinar is being live streamed on Facebook through Women's March and also Moms Rising. And you can also find it on Women's March's YouTube channel as well. So if you're looking for ways to share anything that you've heard today, feel free to go to those places and share it with everybody that you know pretty much. The next question is that Arlene says that she sees that there are only 36 co-sponsors of the Marshall Plan for Moms. What are the odds that this will pass, and by when?
I can try to answer. So would love your support in calling your Congress member to ask them to co-sponsor this resolution. And again, to also remind them that you want to make sure moms are taken care of in the jobs plan. And I think, I will never be the one to predict the timing of Congress. But I will say that nowadays is a good time. It's very timely because the bills are literally being put together as we speak over the next few days and weeks. So this is a great time to reach out, and you can, again, do it through direct phone or email, write a letter, or even on social media. It's very helpful.
Thank you so much, Representative. Thank you so much for everybody for joining. We're going to just state some calls to action, and I'm going to ask Kristin, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to share with people about what Women's March is doing right now, and if you want to share about what Moms Rising is doing right now, that would be super helpful. So it's not too late to join Women's March's May Days campaign. From May 1st to Sunday, which is going to be Mother's Day, on May 9th, women are taking daily actions to build our power and fight against the systems of inequity. Most actions can be taken on any day in May, so check out our website, womensmarch.com, or sign up using the link that the wonderful Jaleesa is going to drop in the chat right now, bit.ly/Women's March May Days, and you'll find it in the chat as well. So I think you mentioned what you need from us, and Kristin, I'm going to pass it to you. Any calls to action on behalf of Moms Rising?
I have so many calls to action. Thank you. One of them is right now we have a text to call your U.S. Senator. We are so thankful to the strong champion leaders in the U.S. House, like Representative Meng. And we need more leaders in the Senate, just to be totally transparent here. And so we have a text to call the U.S. Senate right now to ask them to move forward on the care infrastructure. You can text MOMS, M-O-M-S, 21, all one word, MOMS 21 to 747-464. And we will direct patch you through to your member of the U.S. Senate so you can tell them what you think. We give you a little script that you can, of course, customize. We also have on the Moms Rising webpage right now, homepage, momsrising.org, couple ways that people can share their stories. You can share your story with a written story submission, or you can do a soapbox story submission on video. So we would love to be able to lift and share your stories. We're also doing a lot of actions with petitions and things around Mother's Day. So if you check in on the Moms Rising website, soon coming up on our blog, you'll see our Mother's Day action. Now, what's really exciting about our Mother's Day action, and this is one that you could just sign on to a petition signature. So if you're busy, it shouldn't take you very long. We're going to deliver them electronically on Mother's Day, along with a book of stories to every member of Congress. And we have found that when we email members of Congress on Mother's Day and their staff, we get the most responses. We think it might be a little bit of guilt going on there. The other thing that you can do is when you write a Mother's Day card to your own mother, to the moms in your life, to somebody who's a caregiver, you can also give them a coupon that you will do 3 actions a week, all 3 actions with the Women's March. But really, instead of flowers, moms need change. So we're encouraging people to send their Mother's Day cards with coupons for taking action and making change. And the Women's March always has spectacular change. You can check out the Women's March website every day for wonderful ways to have your voice heard and make change too. So thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Kristin. I think I jumped over you, Representative Meng. Was there anything that you wanted to add? I know that you told us what's needed. Was there anything you wanted to add in terms of calls to action?
No, I really just wanted to say thank you. I'm here not just as a Congress member, but as a fellow mom. And I just want to say how encouraged I am by all the work that everyone does for moms across this country. Our community, our laws will be better because of all of you. So I just wanted to say thank you. We got through this year. Keep it up. Stay strong. Don't have to be perfect. You are still a great mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much. And as we close, I want to give a huge thank you to our both panelists. Thank you for the time that you have taken to come and share your knowledge and your expertise with us, and for just telling everyone what we can do in simple, actionable ways to bring about the change that we need to see for moms across the country. So thank you so much for your time and for the guidance. And just some final thoughts. I encourage everyone on this call to stay engaged on these issues and use your voice to really influence your elected leaders. We have a real shot at making monumental changes now that will improve the lives of women for generations to come. So just so y'all know, everyone who attended tonight will receive a follow-up email with a link to this recording that you can feel free to share with people in your life, and definitely look out for things on Women's March and Moms Rising social media and our website. You can look on Women's March across all of social media as we power through, as we bring about the change that we need to see for women and moms across the country. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you to our panelists. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.